Hello and welcome to CricketNext YouTube channel. I'm Neet Ramakrishnan, and thank you all for joining in for the lunch session, the first session for the third test. Unfortunately, it's been a rain curtailed first session, and an early lunch was taken. Two rain interruptions, and of course, a second rain interruption going ahead, and with the umpires opting for an early lunch. Australia 28 for 0 after India won the toss and put them into bat. To discuss about the first session, we have Harshit Bish, our Cricket Next website correspondent with us. Harshit, welcome to the show. Good evening, good morning, early morning it is. And 28 for 0 for Australia after India opted to bat first. Overcast conditions, you thought India would be happy to get a couple of wickets in the first hour of play, you would think.
Yeah, I was expecting India to take a couple of wickets at least in the first session of the morning was third test, but unfortunately, due to rain interruptions, only 13.2 overs of game was possible, and Australia has made a pretty good start, 28 without loss. India had a couple of chances to take a wicket, but unfortunately they failed to, and Australian batters looked pretty solid in the first session. So I would say it's a good start for the Aussies. I mean, looking at the conditions, looking at the current from the Australian batters, I was expecting them India to strike early. I mean, like in the first two Test matches, also India in the first innings, struck took an early wicket. In the third, on all the three innings, played so far, but pretty disappointed that we were not able to take wicket. But not a lot too much talk about because very little play was possible. And Australian batters, even though Usman Khwaja looked a bit better today in comparison to what I have seen in the last two Test matches. So yeah, I mean, still a lot of. I mean, I'm really not too much to think about in the first session because very little play was possible.
Yeah, that is true. Very little play was possible, just 13.2 overs as Harshit mentioned. But Harshit, एक चीज जरूर है यार. There's to the start of the series, we were all discussing कि यार you need to have somebody. बुमराह के support में आपको कोई चाहिए. Siraj has to step up, and if you look at the 11, you had an Akashdeep coming in place of Harshit Rana, and Bumrah bowled a very good spell. But it was Siraj somewhere you would think, couple of short deliveries to Usman Khwaja, प्रेशर एक फ्री कर दिया था ख्वाजा इन हिज ओन एलिमेंट्स व्हेन इट कम्स टू शॉर्ट बॉल. वैसे भी ख्वाजा का अडॉप्टेड होम ग्राउंड है, ही नोज बेस्ट ऑफ दीज कंडीशंस. अब जितना भी हल्का सा भी आप लेंथ वेरी करते हैं, लेंथ में ऑफ होते हैं, ख्वाजा इज गोइंग टू पाउंस ऑन यू. सो देयर वाज नॉट मच ऑफ फ्रॉम सिराज पर्टिकुलरली थोड़ा आगे खिला सकते हैं बिकॉज ही इज समबडी हु कैन डू दैट, राइट. ही कैन टेक द बॉल अप एंड at least in the first spell you thought कि Siraj थोड़े off color दिखे थे. Then the ends changed with Akashdeep coming in as a first change. थोड़ा उसका rhythm मिला, but then again that rhythm was broken again by that rain interruption.
Yeah, obviously सिराज फॉर्म हैज बीन प्रीटी इनकंसिस्टेंट. थोड़ा सा प्रॉब्लम सिराज के साथ रहा है, लास्ट मैच में भी था, उससे पहले मैच में भी था. तो सिराज का थोड़ा सा मुझे थोड़ा सेटबैक लगा, बट आई वाज प्रीटी इंप्रेस्ड बाय आकाशदीप परफॉर्मेंस सो फार. आकाशदीप ने कुछ चांसेस क्रिएट किए, आकाशदीप अच्छे लगे हैं अभी तक जो जितना परफॉर्मेंस किया. बुमराह तो ऑब्वियसली बुमराह ने लास्ट दो मैचेस में बुमराह ने जल्दी विकेट लेके हमें थोड़ा सा खुश होने का मौका दिया था. इस बार अभी वो नहीं हुआ, थोड़ा सा डिसअपॉइंटमेंट है उस चीज का. बट आकाशदीप हैज इम्प्रेस्ड इन कंपैरिजन टू सिराज. हम सिराज का तो थोड़ा सा मुझे लग भी रहा था कि सिराज का थोड़ा सा फॉर्म रफ चल रहा है. सो आई वाज एक्सपेक्टिंग कि सिराज का जो बेटर वर्जन है, जो गुड वर्जन है, वो आज हमें देखने को मिले, बट अभी तक देखने को नहीं मिला. और एक इम्पोर्टेंट चीज ये हो जाती है कि मैक्सवेनी इज अ वेरी न्यू क्रिकेटर. आई मीन दो तीसरा ही टेस्ट मैच खेल रहे हैं अपना. उस्मान ख्वाजा आउट ऑफ फॉर्म है, तो ऐसे में दीज ऑस्ट्रेलियन बैटर्स आर आल्सो अंडर प्रेशर. सो इट्स बिकम इवन मोर इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर इंडिया टू पुट देम इनटू प्रेशर एंड नॉट allow them to score easy runs. सिराज की कुछ बॉल्स पे देखा हुआ उस्मान ख्वाजा, he played a couple of shots. It's important for India to restrict them to as low a score as possible because India can't afford to Travis Head already इतने सारे रन बना रहा है हमारे अगेंस्ट. हम चांस नहीं दे सकते कि यार उस्मान ख्वाजा या मैक्सवेनी या लेबुशेन और स्मिथ भी आके रन बनाने लगे. बिकॉज if they start making runs, वो ऐसे players है who are known to play long innings, and it's going to be very difficult. So India needs to take all these things very seriously, and in the second session when the game resumes, a couple of wickets at least in the first few overs to put the pressure back on the Aussies.
Yeah, India will hope to have that. And on that note, let's welcome Jamie. Jamie, start of BGT third test. अभी लग रहा है कि BGT actually में शुरू हुआ, early morning starts. But then again, 28 for 0 Australia, 13.2 overs. India ने toss जीता, they put into bat, they brought in an Akashdeep. 28 for 0 हर्षित और मैं यही बात कर रहे थे कि मे बी वी माइट लुक एट इट कि एटलीस्ट एक या दो विकेट तो यहाँ पे निकल जाने चाहिए थे.
Yeah, morning, guys. Of course, I mean you only the second Indian captain in 20 something years to choose to field, right? Why?
Yeah,
Because it's overcast. We all know कि 2 दिन तो जाएंगे इस मैच में rain में. I don't think we'll get played anytime soon. Green
right.
track and then you're spraying the ball all over the place, right? So 13 overs is enough in this condition. Let's just say this in these conditions, if Stark and Hazelwood were bowling, it would be 28 for 2. So a massive, massive opportunity lost. Uh, Probably won't impact the game. I don't think with the amount of rain forecast, we might get that one draw that I was expecting in Sydney.
Exactly.
This
Yeah.
this might be that washout. But yeah, I mean, in these conditions, especially Mohammad Siraj, क्या डाल रहे हो यार? उस्मान ख्वाजा अगर आपको पुल शॉट मार रहे हो, pack up and go home, boss. This was a wasted 13.2 overs of play.
वेस्टेड 13 पॉइंट ओवर्स एंड वही बात थी हर्षित और मैं जेमी व्हेन यू जॉइन बिफोर यही हम बात कर रहे थे कि देयर वाज अ कॉल फॉर बुमराह के सपोर्ट में और किसी को भी होना चाहिए somebody has to step up and somebody is of course मोहम्मद सिराज आकाशदीप डेफिनेटली आए हैं हर्षित राणा didn't get any wickets in the last game he's been rested now he's been benched now comes in Akashdeep came in as a first change bowler and immediately the Akashdeep ने वो line पकड़ा length पकड़ा and you could see that he looked more threatening of more than Siraj to get wicket here. McSweeney couple of leaves that he left. It was very touch and go, very very Jaffa deliveries that he left. You would have thought with all the hoopla around Siraj and whatever happened in the second test India should have looked at it from a very logical and a very sane thing that this guy is blowing hot and cold. Might as well stick to somebody like Harshit Rana and then bring in Akashdeep in place of Siraj rather than dropping Rana and bringing back Akashdeep.
Yeah, but he got those 4 wickets. No? So if you
Yeah.
get 4 wickets and the other guy is going at 5.5 per over and looking like a total lost child, you're not going to play him. But it just underlines why I was saying that Akash Deep should have started in Perth, and 100% he should have started in Adelaide. What are we discussing every day? You right now with the series on the line, with Siraj being very wayward, with Harshit Rana being very wayward, you need control. What's this guy rocked up and give you? Control. I just saw the stat: 3.2 overs. इकोनॉमी इज 0.6 यही तो आपको चाहिए था ना एडलेड में तो हम यहाँ घर बैठ के अपने रूम में हमें पता है कि आपको कौन से बॉलर चूज करने हैं वहां पे ये लोग क्या सोच रहे हैं राइट सो दिस इज प्रिसाइसली व्हाट यू नीडेड अगेन मोहम्मद सिराज यस यू आर राइट he blows hot and he blows cold but when you take 4 wickets na he was always going to play he was not going to be so I'm not surprised at all with the changes we discussed Washington Sundar seems to be the flavor but I'm very, very glad, just like I predicted, if they want to boost their batting and they don't expect spin to have a big role, you need this man on your screen. So I'm very happy with the 2 changes. But yeah, I mean, it's not about getting up early and going to the kitchen in the cold and boiling water and then watching it rain for 2 hours. But 13.2 overs, 2-3 गेंदे को छोड़ के the new ball bowlers, not Akashdeep, Bumrah and Nakash and Siraj. Ab viewers bowling nahi nahi. They've only gone for 1.2 and 2 and all. Baat us third column की नहीं है यार. It's about are you looking like putting pressure on the batsman. And the moment I saw one ball go down the leg side first over, then I saw Mohammad Siraj get pulled by Usman Khwaja. One ball. I mean, mixed is getting balls on the pads. He's playing his third test match. He's talked openly about how tough it is to play Jasprit Bumrah. और तुम उसको settle होने दे रहे हो यार. Again, long way to go if the rain stops, but यार flat, very very flat, and you cannot afford to give these Aussies an inch. Yeah, you know that.
मोस्ट डेफिनेटली वो तो हो ही भी नहीं सकता एंड दैट इज इट आई थिंक वो प्रेशर निकालने वाली जो बात थी सिराज आई मीन हर्षित वाज टॉकिंग अबाउट दिस एंड आई वाज टॉकिंग अबाउट दिस देयर कपल ऑफ डिलीवरीज दैट शॉर्ट डिलीवरीज टू उस्मान ख्वाजा दैट विल काइंड ऑफ रिलीज द प्रेशर एंड this is his home ground he knows it not adopted home ground in a way for Khwaja so he knows the length so he'll bounce on it and he got you those 4 and again even McSweeney for that matter but Harshit I'll come back to you on that thing Jamie touched upon the other change in the 11 that is Ravindra Jadeja. You had Washington Sundar in the first, Ravichandran Ashwin in the second, now Jadeja in. as the third, and very sound logic by Jamie, in the sense if you want to shore up your batting and you don't see spinners playing much a role, you may want to have somebody like a Jadeja who also as a bonus more than an Sundar and an Ashwin gives you a great fielding option as well. But I'm not convinced, to be honest. I mean, Jadeja the third, one spinner, two spinner, off spinners, then getting in Jadeja there. We might as well have kept it with Ashwin or Sundar. What your thoughts on this?
No, I agree with Jamie what Jamie said, because your problem is batting. You need to strengthen your batting. You need a depth in your batting, and Jadeja is the more reliable option among the three that you have. Be it Ashwin, be it Washington, and then be it Jadeja. Jadeja is the more reliable batter that you have. And in the first two tests we have seen, the spin has not played a big part. So the bowlers have still done a fine job, but the batters were absolutely rubbish. So in out of the four innings that India has played so far, in three innings we were not able to cross the 100 200 run mark. So we need somebody to if we had a top order collapse like we had in the three innings in the past four, we need somebody to at least who comes at number 6 or 7, plays us, can actually revive the innings. And Jadeja is that guy who can do that. He has done well. He's done well in overseas conditions. He has proved himself in England. He has scored a century. I remember that England 2022 Test match, that rescheduled one, where he scored a century after a top order collapse by the Indian batters. So yeah, I mean, for me, Jadeja makes sense. I mean, I am pretty satisfied with what Jamie said. You need a depth in the batting, and Jadeja is that guy. I mean, out of the three options, if I look, Jadeja makes more sense to me. For Australia, even if you see that they're playing Leon, but Nathan Leon has not bowled too many overs in the first two tests. Washington Sundar and Ravichandran Ashwin has also not bowled too many overs, so there's not spin has not played a lot of part. So looking at that perspective, Jadeja makes sense to me in this match, even if the conditions are overcast. So I'm not sure that how much spin will play a part in this match as well. So as a batting perspective, somebody who needs, brings a lot of experience to the batting order, Jadeja is fine, and obviously he'll come back before Nitish Kumar Reddy. So a good number 7 option in form of Ravindra Jadeja.
So, Jamie, that's exactly my thought now. Both of you pretty much talk about the same logic. Wasn't this logic applied in the first test and the second test? There's not going to be much spin playing part in the first two tests as well. Why was this not done then? I mean, might as well have showed up that batting order right up in Perth and even in Adelaide with Jadeja.
Yeah, so Gautam Gambhir said that all three spinners are going to play at some point. So very simple. Three test matches, let's track each one. Washington Sundar was the most obvious choice for Brisbane because like we discussed, so for Perth, because we discussed that before Perth. Ashwin was very off during the 3-0 New Zealand sweep. This guy rocks up. Let's not forget, Sundar was part of nobody's plans. Gambhir
Yeah.
and Rohit can say what they want to say. Ashwin was never part of their one-day World Cup plans. He was a last hour edition, came and played one match in Chennai, and then for the next 9 matches, he watched the bib. Same with Sundar. He was part of no one's plan. Achanak aap ek match haar gaye, Ashwin is not doing well. Then he comes and gets 17 wickets, right? So there's that, right? And all three of them, like we discussed yesterday, all three of them, Sundar, Jadeja, Ashwin, they're very good batsmen who learn how to bowl spin along the way. So in the first match, I was absolutely not surprised they went for Washington Sundar. But the point is, he looked good as a batsman. He took 2 wickets. Okay. Why they played Ashwin in Adelaide is beyond me. Yes, they thought of what he could have done. All said and done, he didn't do anything with the bat, and he took 1 wicket. And that 1 wicket was because Mitchell Marsh, as he admitted, he didn't know he nicked it, right? So Ashwin, like I said yesterday, Ashwin was actually minus his contribution. So then you had no option. Ashwin was never going to play. You look at Australia's lineup, four lefties. Brisbane, where this guy made his debut and he got wickets and he scored runs. But the point is, they know, like Harshit just mentioned, in the heart of hearts, they know कि भाई हमारी batting 80 पे 6 फिसलने वाली है. And since 2018, when Jadeja revamped his batting, the two crisis men for this team, time and again in the middle order, have been one Rishabh Pant and one Ravindra Jadeja. Ashwin, unfortunately, does not have the body of work overseas, barring one fantastic Sydney match where he and Hanuma Vihari batted to a draw. He doesn't have the body of work to suggest कि अगर 80 पे 6 है, भाई मैं आपको 50 दूंगा. Washington Sundar might be able to do it, but his sample size is only 2 test matches. Who's your next best option? And like I said yesterday, Nathan Lyon bowled 1 bloody over. He was supposed to be the king of the ping ball. He bowled 1 over. He shouldn't have played this match, especially with the amount of rain. Spinners are going to probably bowl 10 overs in this match, given the rain around. You wanted the best batsman who, okay, आजकल उनका form ठीक नहीं है, but for the better part of 6 years, he's bailed you out of a crisis. Makes perfect sense to me that they went for Ravindra Jadeja.
Ravindra Jadeja and Harshit Rana dropped. Ravindra Jadeja gets a game in. So does Akash Deep. Harshit, let's talk a bit about now Brisbane in terms of the toss. Overcast condition, it made sense to win the toss and bat first. But there were thoughts. I mean, I was just looking, listening to the commentary, and they were said that it might be a case where they would have been swayed by that overcast conditions. India would have been better off batting first. But then again, the stats do say that last five red ball tests in Brisbane all have been won by the side bowling first. But then again, it's about a case of not able to utilize. But before that, do you think it was a decision that augured well for India that you win the toss and you bowl first?
I mean, yeah, I mean, I was convinced by the fact that India chose to bowl first because the conditions were overcast. Indian batting this has not done well in the recent past. So, in this condition, if Australian bowlers, Mitchell Stark, Hazelwood, or Cummins would have bowled, they would have, blown our top order, and India would have been in the back to, by this time, India would have lost 4 or 5 wickets. So it's better to try our bowlers, give it Bumrah in your attack. You had a chance to strike early wickets. Get some early wickets and put Aussies back into pressure under pressure because Australian top order has also not fired yet, right? So they are also under pressure. And Bumrah, with the kind of form Bumrah is in these days, he has already picked up 12 wickets in the Border Gavaskar Trophy. So you had a chance, to get some early wickets, put Aussies back under the pressure. So yeah, for me it makes sense. I mean, unfortunately, we were not able to take any wickets in the first session, so it has kind of backfired a bit. But quite satisfied. I was convinced that looking at the conditions, I was convinced that if any team, even if Pat Cummins would have won the toss, he would have also chose to bowl first.
All right, Jamie, you may want to look at a bit of history as well. Brisbane, they are coming in Australia on the back of a loss to West Indies. This was January last year, and in that match again, West Indies won the toss and they batted first. And it comes down to that fact that if you put Australia under pressure, maybe the fourth, their averages, cumulative averages for the batters in the fourth innings isn't the greatest. They do tend to, crumble under pressure, so to speak. Do you think after what we saw, the kind of loss India endured, they may want to have some pragmatic kind of approach in terms of going into Brisbane and not just go by the conventional means to try and upset Australia's strategies, Australia's, the momentum there? You think that could have been one of the things that they would have tried out, or is it just thinking just way too far ahead?
Who knows, right? Because I mean, we've seen two such contrasting test matches. Perth, 17 wickets fall in the first day, and then uske baad India bat and they get to almost 500 runs. So I don't think there was a lot of planning went into that. And like I said many times, I frankly thought India should have had the upper hand in Adelaide with the Bumrah factor, but it's almost like they were playing with the pink ball for the first time, which is true in the case of Harshit Rana. But whatever plans they had clearly didn't work out. And I've said this. Yes, it's Australia. Yes, it's India. They started the series. There was no. I mean, Shami का नाम तो लोग ले रहे हैं. मैं तो कहता हूँ Shami को दोबारा कहूँगा. Shami का नाम मत लेना जब तक the Champions Trophy comes around. But there was no Shami. There was no Rohit. There was no Shubman Gill. Uske बावजूद this team went on and beat Australia. So for me, the team under more pressure is Australia because 10 साल हो गए, they haven't won the Border Gavaskar Trophy. In that time, India's come to your country twice and beaten you. 18-19 was super, but then 2021 was something else. As you rightly mentioned, West Indies, and you lose to West Indies at home. I mean, वो गैबा का घमंड तो बहुत पहले टूट चुका था. If they started to felt कि वो घमंड वापस आ रहा है, Shimar Joseph said, boss, रहने दो. So it's a very, very weak Australian batting team. They have the edge in the bowling. So I just think whatever plans India have, they haven't actually gone to plan. I think Perth was entirely, of course, you can say that Jaiswal got 161, and but Perth for me was fashioned by one man, that is Jasprit Bumrah. Not just a captain, but he took 8 wickets. I think he took the first 5 of the Australian wickets, 4 or 5, and then he has by his golden standards, he has a bad match. I'm going to use the word bad only because, like with Virat Kohli, the bar is set so bloody high with Bumrah. He has a bad match in Adelaide and then India don't win. तो जो भी plans ये team करे कि हम टॉस जीतेंगे, ये करेंगे, ऑस्ट्रेलिया को दबाव में डालेंगे, it's great, but unfortunately the misfiring batting and the sheer dependence on Jasprit Bumrah just makes it seem like whatever plans India have, they're still on based on this man on the screen. If he takes 9 wickets in Brisbane, India is winning the match. Melbourne and Sydney में आप थोड़ा अपना strategy बदलना चाहेंगे because much easier to bat on. You have a much better record there than in Perth and in Adelaide. And imagine if somehow India win this match, if we get enough time, uh, then perhaps you'll see a very, very different charged up India going to Boxing Day.
Yeah, that but Boxing Day is still quite way ahead. First session and 13.2 overs only bowled. Just an update for the viewers on what is the type of weather conditions there. There are reports coming in that it's pelting down anything there. The groundsmen are using nails to keep the covers on the ground. The ground outside the area outside the ground is actually turned into a river. That's that kind of heavy rain. Thunderstorms were predicted, but again, a few of the reports are suggesting that they might not be. There might be some play that could be possible. So not like complete washout for the day, but as Jimmy mentioned, it could be one of those test matches where you are in for the long wait, and maybe because of lack of time, this could end up in a draw, setting up to very interesting test matches going ahead, Boxing Day test match, and of course the test match in 2025 as well. But that again, Harshit, would have implications for the WTC, right? I mean, we don't have much to talk about in terms of what happened in the actual game today. So let's finish this off session on the basis of what this could mean for the WTC as well. You have a South Africa, going to play Pakistan. You have Sri Lanka would be playing Australia after the Madagascar series. But then again, India would have an eye out on those games, and especially here also. I mean, a 3-1, 4-1 loss anyway will take them out of the equation, but a 2-2, 3-2 still would have a chance. So they wouldn't want to have a draw here.
I mean, both the teams would not want to play for a draw because, when we saw the Kanpur test, when there were almost 3 days of play was washed out, India did try to force a result. And in this match also, if there is a possibility of having a play on the third day or even a fourth day, both teams will try to get something out of the game, because for both, this match is crucial for both the teams. Even though India, for an Indian fans perspective, we'll to see that it is very important for India to win. It is equally important for Australia to win as well. I mean, because they have to come to Asia to play Sri Lanka at home, and Sri Lanka at home is a very dangerous side. So they cannot leave, permutation and combination to the last series that play. So they have to win this series, and also they have to win this match. And if this match, ends, gets washed out, and if both teams settles for a point each, then the next two matches for India will be must win. India can't afford to lose a match at any cost. A 3-2 defeat, a 2-2 series draw, or a 3-2 defeat, or a 3-1 defeat will rule India completely out of the tournament for the World Test Championship final race. So for India to, even to keep that chances of reaching the World Test Championship alive for the third time in a row, India need to win this match. For Australia also, the equation is pretty, they have to wait. They have to do it. So I think that, I mean, as from my point of view, even though this is the first day, if, if there is if we can at least get 2 full days of play, both teams will try to, go for the result. Both team has such kind of batters, who can play aggressive brand of cricket. We have seen Indian cricket team playing the, even though if it was in at our home, they played. I mean, in Australia they had Travis Head, right? So what Travis Head can do, I mean, Indian fans need no introduction about what who's Travis Head and what he can do. So yeah, I mean, both teams, the strategy at this point of time for both the teams is pretty clear that we can't afford to lose this match or even play a draw. We'll try to win. We'll try to produce a result no matter how we have to do it. And if the game, if we are able to see, if the rain consistently interrupts the game in a day 2 or a day 3 as well, then we might see a change in approach from both the teams as well in
Yeah,
terms of
right.
scoring runs.
And in between, we do have a comment for Jamie in the early morning. Kapil Dhingra saying, "Good analysis, guys. Very nice to hear, Jamie. Thank you for Kapil joining in this early, and yeah, hope that you keep on continue to support us and join for more lives. So, Jamie, to finish this conversation of on WTC itself, quite interesting in a way that South Africa is at the top of the table. They have not played India at home. They have not had any major series. I know your thoughts on WTC in general, but then again, it kind of look, this is also the first WTC cycle where it has actually gone down to the wire. But then again, the format and the series is how it's panned out or how it is split among the big teams is always skewed. But somehow it has worked out this time around WTC. It has actually gone down to the wire.
We have New Zealand to thank for that, no? All of us said a 5-0 home. Nobody, let's face it, nobody in India saw Tom Latham's team coming and winning 3-0.
Exactly.
That just changed. Every one of us said India will go to Australia with the job done. 5-0 home record or एक series ने. Look, hats off to South Africa for finally showing some consistency. बहुत कम matches खेले हैं, yes, this graphic says, as compared to the big three, but there's no point even going into why those teams played three. And also this was the South Africa when the cycle began or almost midway through, they had to send a very weaker B team to New Zealand where they lost 2-0. And I just love the fact that England, who go on about baseball, they're nowhere even in the reckoning, And Ben Stokes' comment from 10 days ago, I don't understand WTC. मैंने कहा यार इससे बढ़िया मतलब ये क्या है, right? You talk about saving the game, you're the custodians. Game आपने शुरू किया था, आप कहते हो, और आपको WTC में interest ही नहीं है, So I found that I'm not saying I lost like respect for Stokes, but I said, yeah, this team is actually a joke when he's openly saying I don't understand it. इसमें समझना क्या है भाई? A layman can understand how it works. I'm not talking about the bias or how it's lopsided to top three teams. लेकिन वो top three में से आप भी तो हो boss. आप यानी कि इंग्लैंड और इंडिया, आप ही तो इस गेम के एक्चुअल वो है ना जो the engine room, the driving force. So when they're not there, I just laugh. Stranger things have happened, but I don't see Pakistan beating South Africa because we talked about this a few. I think Harshit was also there. I said the day their squad came out, I was seeing the fast bowlers that these guys play. I said maybe they've got some fast bowlers, which could perhaps put Bavuma and all under pressure. इनके पास वो out and out pacers नहीं है नसीम शाह को छोड़ के. Srilanka's record is primarily based at home. It's damn tough to beat them. So I think last time COVID ke time pe it was 1-1. I would not be surprised if Sri Lanka again took one test off Australia. So that's why it's going to be very, very tough. Prabhat Jayasuriya starts taking wickets. It's Kamindu Mendes has been outstanding until one tour. So he's allowed to fail. That's a very tough team to beat at home. So it's not straightforward. I think South Africa should rightfully get there. And then it's down to these two teams right now watching the rain fall in Brisbane.
Yeah, and Australia would like to breathe easy before they go to Sri Lanka with a series win here, and vice versa. For conversely, for India, they have to win. They have to win, at least by the margin of 3-2 to at least even have some kind of chance for the WTC final. 3-1, 4-1. So anyway, they'll qualify straight through. But even if they lose to manage to win 3, it becomes quite interesting for them. And as Jamie mentioned, South Africa, despite all that we have talked about, they are at the top of the table. Hopefully, we could see them, play that WTC final. Change of teams, of course, there would be hopeful to do that. So that's about it from us. Thank you, Jamie. Thank you, Harshit. As we wait for the second session to get underway, it doesn't seem like it might even get underway anytime soon. Even after that scheduled, 40-minute of lunch break, doesn't seem like it would start. So it is going to be a long wait. Australia, just a reminder, 28 for 0 after being put into bat by India. 13.2 overs have only been bowled. Bumrah looked okay, not the kind of Bumrah, as Jamie mentioned, the standards that he, has maintained for himself didn't bowled to that extent. Siraj was blowing hot and cold. Akashdeep, the inclusion in the third test, did have some decent, string of deliveries. But one interesting stat, I'm just looking at, is that only I think 2% of the deliveries were actually hitting the stump of all the three bowlers that they bowled in that 13.2 overs. Tells a lot about why you are seeing Australia at a comfortable, so to speak, at 28 for 0 under overcast conditions. Usman Khawaja's home ground. Nathan McSweeney, the backup opener, he would be looking to get some runs. India wickets. So we'll join you again at the stumps at around 1:30 and see how the game has gone from there. So once again, thank you, Jamie. Thank you, Harshit, for joining, and thank you for all other viewers who tuned in early in the morning for this Cricket Next Live. Thank you, guys.